Live streaming and short video platforms, perhaps the only avenues left that promise overnight wealth, are unfortunately riddled with counterfeit goods and deceptive practices. Live Pearl Opening Sessions. The business of live pearl opening in streaming rooms is booming, with some sellers marketing so-called premium pearls that can fetch thousands of dollars for fakes. But the best sellers are those offering inexpensive natural pearls, with 20 pearls priced at 99 yuan, generating monthly sales exceeding 2 million yuan. In reality, these pearls are all artificial, costing merely 10 yuan per half kilogram. A blogger, posing as a consumer, visited a live streaming room selling pearls. This blogger observed that almost every pearl extracted from an oyster in the live session appeared perfect in both color and shape, but they noted that each oyster had a small incision, revealing a manipulation. The oysters did not naturally contain these pearls. Instead, the sellers had pried open the oysters beforehand and inserted the pearls. The pearls presented live were stunning, yet the ones received by consumers were entirely different. The operation of opening oysters to extract pearls in live streaming rooms works as follows. The host is responsible for opening the oysters, while an assistant secretly loads fake pearls into the oysters. 3 oysters take turns being featured on camera. No one shows their faces throughout the process. Each session attracts an audience of 7,000 to 8,000 people waiting to see what kind of pearls will be revealed. The gamble relies on consumers' inability to discern the authenticity of the pearls. Selling misery through short videos to promote products. Short video marketing is currently very popular, with a wide variety of tactics used to promote products. To attract more traffic, some content creators use the plight of people left behind in rural areas, those without caregivers, or elderly individuals living alone in the countryside as props for their selling misery strategy in short videos. The portrayal of the elderly is crafted to be as pitiable as possible, especially favoring images of those living in dilapidated houses with stooped postures and ideally missing all their teeth. Accompanied by sad music, this strategy exploits people's compassion. In the end, the main character of the video, the destitute elderly person from the countryside, only receives 30 yuan. Meanwhile, someone else earns 6 million yuan a year from this practice. Aside from the myriad pitfalls associated with product promotion through short videos, deceit is rampant in various other areas, including dating, job hunting, and academic training courses. Scams are seemingly omnipresent. International marriage scams. Due to the planned birth policy implemented by the Chinese Communist Party, China is now facing not only severe population aging, but also a serious imbalance in the gender ratio. Especially in rural areas, the number of men unable to find wives is increasing. Consequently, international marriage scams have emerged in response to this situation. This young man, through an international matchmaker, spent 180,000 yuan to marry a bride from Laos. But 2 months later, the bride fled and the matchmaker disappeared, and he loses the 180,000 yuan. It is said that the international matchmaker charges a matchmaking fee of 100,000 yuan for each successful pairing, with an annual turnover of 10 million yuan per year. If the bride runs away, it results in a total loss for the client, as a matchmaking fee is non-refundable. High-tech scams. The introduction of GPT-4 has provided significant benefits to society, but it has also been a topic of debates. While many people are still discussing the pros and cons of artificial intelligence, scammers have already turned it into a successful money-making tool. This video blogger mentioned, scammers have integrated GPT-4 into stock quantitative trading systems. They claim that GPT-4 can predict stock market fluctuations, quickly attracting followers with the ability to recruit 1,000 people in just one day. Following that, they prompt them to download a stock trading app, recommending the same stock to all 1,000 people, but telling 500 of them that the stock will rise, and the other 500 that it will fall. Those who receive the wrong prediction naturally leave. After repeating this prediction process 3 times, the few dozen people remaining are convinced of the scammer's ability to forecast. Then they are encouraged to deposit money into their accounts. At least half of them comply. Deposit amounts that range from a minimum of 50,000 to 60,000 yuan to as much as several million yuan. But once the money is deposited, it becomes impossible to withdraw. This is a classic pig butchering scam. It is said that this method can generate profits of up to 4 million yuan in a single week. Some say that in 2024, as the number of people without jobs and money increases, the number of scammers will also rise, leading to an increase in the number of victims. Many called on others to be more aware and protect themselves. In China, essential resources for daily life such as water, electricity, gas, oil, and telecommunications are all controlled by enterprises connected to the state. These corporations monopolize vast markets, acting like giant beasts, greedily consuming the public wealth. The citizens, left with no choice, are forced to comply with their exorbitant prices and practices. Even without electricity, it spins by itself.
Oh really? It's now at 2.96.
It jumps every 3.5 minutes. In a day, I lose 350 units of electricity. I've been using this meter for 16 days now, and I've already lost over 10,000 yuan. This resident stated that his smart electricity meter continues to run even after the power is switched off. Since the new meter was installed, his electricity bills have skyrocketed, reaching a staggering 20,000 yuan per month. The elderly lady mentioned that within 40 days, she made 3 trips to pay her electricity bill, totaling 900 yuan. For someone who lives by herself, without any high-power electrical appliances, how is it possible her monthly electricity bill clocked up to 900 yuan? The exorbitant electricity bills are causing immense hardship for low-income elderly individuals. This elderly man mentioned that he and his spouse receive a pension of only 198 yuan each month. Even when combined, their pensions are insufficient to cover the bills, forcing them to ask their children for help. He mentioned that if this issue isn't resolved, they will be forced to revert to using kerosene lamps. While some people in the village suspect that the issue lies with the smart electricity meters, the power supply department insists that the meters are functioning properly. They suggest that if they remain unconvinced, they can have their meters inspected. Several years ago, Chinese power supply departments initiated a nationwide large-scale replacement of traditional electricity meters with smart meters. Since then, people have started noticing a sudden and significant surge in their electricity bills, sometimes multiplying several times over. Where does the problem lie? By the end of 2023, data released by the National Bureau of Statistics seemed to provide an answer. On December 15th last year, the National Bureau of Statistics of China released data on electricity generation and electricity consumption for the period from January to November 2023. According to data from the National Energy Administration, from January to November 2023, China's electricity consumption amounted to about 8.4 trillion kilowatt hours, while according to the National Bureau of Statistics, electricity generation only reached around 8 trillion kilowatt hours. Those who paid attention to details noticed the phenomena. From January to November 2023, the nationwide electricity consumption actually exceeded electricity generation by about 295 billion kilowatt hours. This discovery quickly stirred up a storm on the internet. People were quick to question where this excess electricity usage came from. Was it some sort of falling from the sky technology, or perhaps a gift from the gods of thunder and goddess of electricity? Immediately, people from various regions began connecting this phenomenon with their own electricity meters. They promptly shared their electricity bills, comparing the cost before and after the installation of smart meters. Upon data analysis, they concluded that the extra 0.3 trillion kilowatt hours consumption was being siphoned off by the smart meters. Many commented that the smart meters now seem to be running ahead of the power generation. They pointed out that with the old digital meters, their electricity bills for the same appliances would cost over 100 yen per month. But now, even after removing the air conditioning unit, the monthly electricity bill surpasses 500 yuan. A blogger who graduated with a degree in mechanical and electrical engineering from Tsinghua University shared the results of an experiment conducted by his son. He found that smart meters cause users to pay an additional 35% in electricity bills. The blogger mentioned that his son, who is still in school and has a keen interest in physics, conducted a test a few years ago. He purchased an old-fashioned electricity meter and turned on all the high-power appliances in the house, such as electric heaters, air conditioners, and ventilation fans. After comparing it with a smart meter and tinkering for several hours, he told his father that the smart meter at home was stealing electricity. While the old meter advanced by 10 kilowatt hours, the smart meter advanced by 13 kilowatt hours. To validate his experiment, the blogger stated that his son purchased 4 additional electricity meters for testing. He also conducted the same experiment in 10 classmates' homes, and the results were consistent. When his son and his classmates brought the experiment videos to the power supply company's service hall for inquiry, the officials responded, "Don't you know about line losses? Of course it won't be the same." My son told me that Chinese people have to pay an extra 35% in electricity bills every month. He also told me, "I understand now. The laws of physics have global standards, but there are also Chinese standards." The smart meters are fishy. They're openly robbing money from ordinary people. The overwhelmingly negative views from people left the authorities uneasy. After all, maintaining a good reputation is still their priority. Hence, various officials and experts came forward to explain the reasons, citing differences in statistical methods, calculation approaches, and so forth. China State Media, CCTV's Focus interviewed experts and conducted on-the-spot testing of smart meters to vigorously assess that there is no issue with smart meters. But people remain unconvinced, firmly believing that smart meters were merely a tool for exploiting the public, with State Grid using purported high-tech means to openly rob money. This pressure led to the Director of National Bureau of Statistics, Kang Yi, personally coming forward to explain and once again assert that there is no issue with smart meters. People express their skepticism, asking, quote, "Isn't it necessary to explain why one consumes over 400 kilowatt hours of electricity in a day? Do they have mining rigs at home?" End quote. Quote, "An elderly person simply uses lighting, yet their electricity bill amounts to 900 yuan in 40 days. No matter how you think about it, it's impossible. Your meter must be faulty." End quote. Many people commented, "Electricity consumption exceeds electricity generation? That's normal, because it's not about electricity, it's about money. Money, money, money." One person even did some calculations, determining how much money the additional 295 billion kilowatt hours contributed to the state grid. The blogger in the video mentioned, for example, our meter shows we use 135 kilowatt hours of electricity. In reality, we only use 100 kilowatt hours, but we're billed according to the 135 kilowatt hours. The excess electricity consumption of over 295 billion kilowatt hours is larger than the annual electricity consumption of many provinces, which doesn't make sense logically. Even if we calculate it at 0.5 yuan per kilowatt hour, that amounts to about 147 billion yuan. This figure is staggering. Whether or not there are issues with smart meters, the opinions of the public seem to carry little weight. Netizens express their frustration, stating, "You're playing the role of both the athlete and the referee, and even the supervisor. Your word is final." Everyone knows that electricity meters and gas meters run fast. But what can we do about it, even if we know? The government says the meters are fine, but the electricity bills are too expensive. Why would I use so many electrical appliances? If I don't use them, I won't buy them. So don't say that people don't consume. It's just that they can't afford to. It's not just smart meters. There are also smart water meters and smart gas meters. Even the fuel at gas stations is designed to rip you off, no matter which one you're dealing with. They all seem to be set up to swindle you without negotiation. A 25-liter tank, not yet filled, already shows 29.65 liters on the gas pump, indicating it may exceed 30 liters when full. What's going on here? Someone decided to investigate with a measuring cup to find out exactly how much 1 liter of fuel actually is. His experiment at the gas station with a measuring cup revealed that 1 liter of fuel only measured 800 milliliters. What did the gas station have to say about this? A female staff member commented,
"The measuring cup is a measuring tool, not a calibration tool. It's not appropriate to use just any random object for measurement."
My fuel tank has a capacity of 18 liters. The gas pump showed that I had filled up with 17.25 liters, costing nearly 160 yuan. But my fuel gauge indicated that there were still 2.75 liters of fuel left in the tank at the time. I just want to know how these extra 2 liters were supposedly added to my tank. Many people expressed their frustration, saying, "In this country, everything seems to have issues. What can we trust anymore? 1 unit of electricity generated, but 1.5 units consumed. 1 liter of fuel equals only 800 milliliters. When it comes to deceiving and swindling, they are all masters." There is a viral trend on the internet regarding a Chinese version of standard measurement units. At the farmer's market, 1 kilogram equals 0.8 kilograms. At gas stations for gasoline, 1 liter equals 0.8 liters. For tap water, 1 ton equals 600 kilograms. For electricity, 1 kilowatt hour equals 0.7 kilowatt hours. For natural gas, 1 cubic meter equals 0.8 cubic meters. For setting heating temperature, 18 degrees Celsius equals 15 degrees Celsius. For real estate, 100 square meters equals 75 square meters. For electric vehicle range, 300 kilometers equals 180 kilometers. There are voices labeling modern China a kingdom of scammers, where deception pervades every corner, from grand schemes to petty frauds, making life exceedingly difficult for the common people. Besides being known for the prevalence of scammers, China also carries another label, the kingdom of counterfeiting. This incident occurred on a commercial street in a certain area of Hubei. Someone shouted, "The counterfeit inspectors are coming." Within seconds, all the shops closed their doors. Those in the know say that every year around March 15th, which is Consumer Rights Day, the shops here would close for a period. People commented saying, "This place is basically a street of high-quality knockoffs." The success of Pinduoduo also highlights a reality. Many people are aware they are purchasing counterfeit goods, but do not mind, as the prices are low. Ultimately, this reflects the fact that there are too many people living in poverty. Online discussions about the rampant issue of scammers and counterfeit goods in China attribute the problem to several key factors: inadequate regulation, insufficient punitive measures, a significant lack of societal integrity, and a tendency among citizens to seek bargains at any cost, among others. But an increasing number of people are beginning to ponder the underlying causes of these issues. There is a Chinese saying, "A tree rots from its roots." If a country is likened to a large tree and its roots are rotten, how can one expect its branches to be healthy? On January 22nd, the National Bureau of Statistics of China openly acknowledged falsifying data. It is said that such falsification is a worse form of corruption in the field of statistics, disrupting and even misleading macroeconomic decision-making. Its head, Kang Yi, emphasized that statistical falsification exists in certain regions and declared that there would be an increase in law enforcement efforts against it, adopting a zero-tolerance policy. People commented saying, "These certain places seem quite extensive. Why don't you tell us where the real data actually is?" A scholar once stated that no one trusts China's official data, whether it's the GDP figures or the GDP growth rate. Both sets of data are considered unreliable and merely seen as political tools. Commentator Wang He has written articles detailing that the CCP was founded on deception and progressed through misrepresentation to the public. From politics to economics, from government to corporations, and from the technology sector to the entertainment industry, fabrications are ubiquitous. In recent years, the severe instance of falsification is considered to be the data from the 2020 7th National Population Census. A blogger interpreting this report posed a challenging mathematical problem. The blogger pointed out that the total population data for China in 2020 appears to be significantly inflated. In 2019, the total population was 1.4 billion, and in 2020, the total population was 1.412 billion, representing an increase of 11.7 million compared to the previous year. According to statistics, the newborn population in 2020 was 12 million. This means that in 2020, the total number of deaths in the country for the entire year was only 270,000. Someone said that if a country with a population of 1.4 billion people had only 270,000 deaths in the year when the pandemic was at its peak, it can be likened to the statement made by a certain expert describing COVID-19 when he said, "It's as if no one died." It is indeed highly questionable that the number of deaths during a major pandemic outbreak year would suddenly decrease by over 97% compared to a normal year when China typically experiences around 10 million deaths. This blogger calculated the net population increase in China over the past decade by subtracting the annual number of deaths from the annual number of births reported by the National Bureau of Statistics. The result showed a net population increase of 60 million over 10 years, averaging an increase of 6 million per year. This figure is 12 million less than the reported increase in population according to the 7th National Population Census data. Over the past decade, China's population growth has been on a downward trend, with recent years seeing a decrease to below 5 million. According to statistics, the national population increase was 4.67 million in 2019, but in 2020, it suddenly surged to 11.7 million. This significant increase is truly astonishing. The blogger sarcastically speculated whether several million unregistered residents were suddenly included in the statistics or if millions of immigrants suddenly enter the country from abroad. Due to the absurdity of the data, demographer Yi Fuxian remarked, "This census is the most unreliable one in China's history." Wang He argues that China's status as a counterfeiting kingdom is entirely attributable to the guidance of the CCP's falsifications and the corrupt nature of its system.